Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders for KW Bonsai. Today we're looking at my collected cedar. It was collected not this spring, but the spring before. It got some root pruning and I put it in a training pot. And last summer it kind of just sulked. It didn't grow much. It stayed alive. And this year we're getting some good growth on it, getting some really tall spikes of growth, which shows the tree's really healthy. When I put it in the training pot, I did some root pruning on it, removing all the major roots I didn't want. So it's recovered now and it's time to style the tree. So when you're collecting a tree, it's important to get the tree in good health before you start styling it. So that's why we waited almost a year and a half before we started styling the tree. So this tree, it's got nice bark, it has a nice root base, and it's got some nice branch placements on it. So we have to decide what to do with the tree. And it's probably one of the hardest things is initially styling a tree. You have to decide what you want in the tree. What do you want it to look like? What you're after. So I did debate on turning this tree into an African style tree, but I'm thinking the trunk's a little too thick to do that style. So I'm not going to do that. The other possibility is I could make it a tall upright tree and put it into my cedar forest. My cedar forest it has one tall large tree and a bunch of small trees around it, and it looks a little lonely. So I'm thinking of turning this into a tall tree, which would require removing all the lower branches, tightening up the top foliage, and pruning it more compact. So I'm going to think about it a little longer. The other possibility is to go with the style it is now and just prune it more compact and have it like a cedar tree you would see not in a forest, but just more of a open field type cedar tree. So I'm going to think about it and we'll come back and I'll tell you what I decided to do. I'm still thinking. In this cedar forest, I would like 2 more tall trees in the forest, sort of mature ones with a thick trunk. So this might be a good candidate. It's not ideal. The trunk thickness is almost the same as the tall tree, but I think it's the best tree I have. And I have one more that I'm trying to grow as a cutting that I can put into it also, so I'd have 3 main trees and then all the smaller trees around it. It's a shame to cut off all these lower branches and make it a straight trunk, but and the trunk on this tree isn't perfectly straight either. I could try and when we go on our collection trip next spring, I could try and find some trees that are more suited to this forest planting, some tall straight trees. But it would take another 1.5 years to get the roots established, more years to train the compact foliage. So we kind of got a good start with this tree, so I think I'm going to try it as a tall tree. Okay, so we're going to start by removing the lower branches. So we'll get to work on that. And I haven't picked a front for the tree yet, but we'll do that later on. And I'm going to try growing these as cuttings, because you can always use more cuttings of cedars and that for the forest later on. I want my lowest branches about this high, so we might be able to use this little one in here. So I'm just going to remove these other lower ones. It's a tough decision deciding on the front. What I think I'll do is I'm going to reduce these branches down, and then we'll have another look at it. And maybe, you know, based on the reduced branches, we can pick a better front to the tree. So let's start reducing our branches. The height of the tree is fairly good. It's just too wide. There's a nice little shoot in here we can use. So when we're reducing branches, these new little shoots that are growing out, we can utilize those as our future branches. And the thicker branches we can cut off, because you don't want to make the trunk look really thick. You want nice fine branches coming off it. If you have thick branches coming off a thick trunk, it just looks immature. It looks like a small tree. It doesn't look like a giant old one. So in the upper canopy we want a lot of vertical growth, similar to an old style, old growth cedar, that upright canopy. So I think we're just gonna, let's just start cutting some of these back to some fairly good foliage back here. So wherever we can cut the tree back in size, we are going to. Now we're going to take it right off there. And then we got another long branch here. I'm going to take it right back. You can see our new growth is really, really vigorous. It was starting to shade out some of these bottom branches. The dead branch in here I'm going to remove. There's some parts of the tree that are growing the wrong direction here. We're going to prune off. Now we're going to take this back to here. Now we're going to start pruning back some of the new vigorous growth. So we're just making everything more compact. Combination of hedge style pruning, selective pruning. So you can see the tree's getting more compact now. So we're just going into each branch and cleaning it up. So you can really see the change of trunk angle there. If we plant it more vertical, we still have a bit of a change there. So what we'll do is we'll grow, we've got another major branch here that will sort of go into a twin trunk. And that'll be kind of the style for it. Do a little reduction here. We want to make sure our lower branches are getting light. I'm going to take that long branch off. It's not very vigorous anyway. There we go. So we're getting down there. You can see it's looking a little more compact. Tree's looking a little taller. We're removing overlapping branches. Pruning back our vigorous shoots. Now I'm kind of liking this as the front now. It's got a good leader here. A little pruning up top here. This foliage is getting quite coarse. That's just because the tree's really vigorous. I am going to remove this dead stump here. I don't think we want a giant, dead branch down low here. If this was in a forest, it would have shed that branch long ago. It wouldn't have developed into a thick branch like that. And I think that's pretty good for now. I think we've done enough styling. We've kind of got an idea of how we want to develop the tree. Yeah, I think that'll do. So we're going to try and integrate this in with the forest when we go to replant it next spring. And I'm hoping to get one more tree. So we'll have 3 kind of, you know, fairly large trees in the forest, and then the rest will be smaller trees. So that's all the work today we're going to do on the cedar. We've kind of got a basic style for it. We know what we want to do with the tree, put it in the forest, and yeah, we'll just keep growing it, keeping it compact this year, and next spring we'll be putting it into the forest. So Nigel Saunders for Cedar Bonsai. We'll see you next time.